Welcome to the Tip Off, hosted by Isaiah Winfree, Joshua Blakley, and Nicholas Hofmann. Look, let's not waste no time. We just watched the game. We'll circle back to the rest of the tournament. Celtics Pacers just happened. It was a super close game, back and forth the whole time. Tyrese Halliburton, that was his first career triple-double. I didn't know that. Okay. I think he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players in this league, very quickly. Any takeaways from the game, Josh, that you saw today?
Well, I came in at the fourth quarter, so I got to basically just watch crunch time. Halliburton was awesome in that time that I saw. My biggest takeaway, though, the Celtics, that team is going to be a serious team in the playoffs. They're missing Porzingis.
Yeah.
They can switch everything. They literally can switch everything. They have two, maybe, Tatum when he wants to be, but Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday, two of the best perimeter defenders in the league. They both guarded guys like Giannis in the playoffs, which is just insane. That team, I think they're my pick for the finals easily.
I mean, I agree 100% with, especially coming out the East, but they did lose to the Pacers today by 10. It was a lot closer than 10, but that's the running up score. That's the foul game score. Mm-hmm. Tyrese Halliburton with 26, 10, and 13. Buddy Hield with a clean 21. Buddy Hield is highest in the plus minus here.
Turn the ball over 11 times more than the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that was in the third quarter?
I don't know. You got the stats right there, don't you? Maybe.
I'm not looking at it broken down that way.
Oh, gotcha.
I was only asking because it looks like the Celtics just dropped the ball in the third quarter and got ran up on, and the game just got out of hand. They were ahead going into the second half. They out-rebounded the Pacers. But man, is that second half heat from the pit. Like, they let them have the third quarter where they got back in the game. And once you do that with a young team like that, and you convince them that they can win the game, they've got it. You got to strangle teams like that.
I definitely don't think they let him get back in the game. It was a close game the entire game. Whatever numbers say quarters wise, it was tied at one point in every quarter. There was a point where the Pacers were up huge by like 10. There was a point where the Celtics were up like 8 in the second half. It is one of these. It's a run game with the Pacers. Mm-hmm. They're the fastest team in the league. You let them get out ahead just one too many times on the fast break, and now you could be down 6 or you could be up 6 because they miss all the shots. Today was the kind of day where they were just hitting. Bruce Brown only had 13, but I mean, it felt like his impact was every second this game.
They didn't bring him in to score. They brought him in just for that. He's perfect in that role.
100%. And you were like I said, we don't have to go too long on it, but it is feeling like this in-season tournament is quickly becoming the Pacers show-out party. I mean, they have yet to lose a game in this entire thing. They're one of the young teams that I expected to take a jump. Not this huge of a jump. I mean, they're not taking the same kind of jump as the Magic per se, record-wise, but in serious games like the tournament, they have shown up every game, and they look like they're taking it serious. Celtics look like they're taking it serious too. But man, that run it up. We'll talk about the run it up later. I got the clip on that. But we can end the Pacers Celtics talk there if y'all got nothing left on it. But wonderful game. Whoever they play next is going to be. It's going to be a very fun game. I don't know if I've watched a Pacers game and haven't been like, wow, this is some of the most entertaining basketball I've seen in a while.
So something I want to just add real quick about this in-season tournament, which is pretty cool. You talked about it being kind of a show out for the Pacers. How many games at the start of the season do you think the Pacers had on TNT? Maybe one? Maybe?
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
How many casual fans do you think haven't seen a game from Tyrese Halliburton until tonight? This in-season tournament is actually turning out to be pretty cool, especially for the casual fans, because they're going to see teams like this, these younger teams that just in smaller markets. I think it's a cool thing. I'm really impressed with how it's
I
gone.
think smaller market, big markets, I feel like, and I know that a few players came out and said this themselves recently, but I agree. I feel like small markets and big markets are kind of becoming not important anymore. Anthony Edwards is still getting signature shoes, movie roles, and all this stuff in Minnesota. You see Giannis over in the Bucks. You have the Thunder players getting more and more notoriety. I mean, the list can go on with these small teams that have players wanting to come to them, that have players succeeding from there. It's no longer the late 2000s, like the 2000s, where you have to go to LA or a big market to get a signature shoe. And that was just the signature shoes were so hard even just back then. You had to be in those big markets. And when Derrick Rose got the signature shoe and people were like, whoa. And I'm like, there's still a big market in Chicago, but now you got the Timberwolves and them having all these star players coming together. Whether people think they're stars or not, they're playing like it. I kind of feel like these small market and big markets aren't mattering as much as they used to anymore. You know, it still matters, but does it matter as much anymore for you guys?
I think the evidence shows that it's just basketball, right? The internet makes everybody accessible all the time. Unless you are still just paying for cable, even if you go to bars exclusively to watch your basketball, you can watch all 30 teams. So easy. So people have fans all over the country. You don't have to lock yourself into a weird contract in a city where the fans care in a way that you don't like. I think it just matches the player freedom and player movement era. You know what I'm saying? Because the markets are really nothing at this point, but a docking place for different groups of guys to go every season to have their run at a chip. Some teams stay together for a while. Some teams change every single year. Everybody's visible, though, you know?
Yeah. Recently saw a take that the Pacers style of basketball, the quick play, the only dunks or threes, 7-second offense is ruining the fun of watching basketball. And people are saying, not many, but people on Twitter, etc., are saying that it is becoming repetitive and many teams are starting to adopt this style of play, i.e. Kings last year, Warriors type of play. Is it making it less fun? For me, it feels the opposite. It feels like it's just becoming more entertaining by that style of play. Eventually, it might get boring. I don't think the mid-range is dead. What is your guys' take on that?
I mean, I think realistically, it makes the regular season better, and we know that crap's not going to fly in the postseason. Like, defenses are going to get better. They're going to slow it down. They're going to stop all that. So it's like, I'm not really worried about that. And as a player who played that style in high school, that run and gun, that's the most fun to play. So we might be getting more out of the guys in the regular season. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's going to fly in the playoffs. I don't think we're ever going to see that style adapted in the playoffs, just because when NBA players actually try on defense, that stuff's not going to work. When everybody's getting back and it's just not going to work. So I don't know. I don't see any issue with it.
Isaiah?
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree. I think that it's pretty obvious the way that Steph Curry and the Warriors are the mumble rap of basketball eras, where people who aren't really in touch with what's going on look at that thing and they shake their fist and then just like, how did you ruin the thing I love so much? But if they loved it how they say they love it, they'd be in touch with it enough to know that it's really just the evolution and change of the way that things are done. You know, playing fast in the regular season, like we were talking about the other day, I don't remember if it was on a stream or not. We're only a few years away from 6'7" being 6'7" is already the league average, right? Like the numerical average. But I'm saying like 60-ish% of the league is going to be in the 6'7" to 6'9" range, height-wise, where everybody's pretty much going to be the same. And when you get to that level of matching matchups, athleticism becomes a deciding factor. So with the more talent we have coming in with big guys that can all dribble and stuff like that becomes less and less new to us. we're going to have to find a new separator. It's been finessed.
Will athleticism become a separator with Jokic being the MVP, the best player in the league still? There's a stat line before we continue. Oh, while you guys think on this, I'll bring it up after. But there's a stat line on Jokic I want to tell y'all about.
Another point I just wanted to make is we're not too far removed from everybody raising the pitchforks over drop coverage, which almost always only gets played in the regular season because you're not going to leave a guy in the playoffs open and leave space there. But in the regular season, it's proven to kind of work and translate to more wins. And I mean, I remember having conversations with my dad where he's like, oh, they don't play defense. They just, they just want to drop everything. And it's like, well, you also aren't guarding De'Aaron Fox in college and high school basketball. So.
Yeah. Some of these are stats that really don't matter. Nobody really cares about these, but Jokic leads the NBA in every one of these today. Field goals, points, assist percentage, box plus minus, offensive win shares, field goal attempts, defensive rebounds, defensive rebound percentage, offensive box plus minus, total rebounds, assists, win shares, defensive box plus minus, rebounds per game, player efficiency rating, win shares per 48 minutes, and value over replacement player. That's every stat he leads the NBA in right now. Not to mention he's 1,000 away from being the most assists ever by an NBA center.
So, yeah, I think it's important that we remember that Jokic is a center. And that is the one position where that play style has the complements of the position to help it flourish, right? I really think about Luka and Jokic in similar levels of how athletic they are for their position. Not that Jokic is out of shape or that Luka Doncic is out of shape or that either one of them aren't good basketball players. But Luka doesn't move the way that other two guards move. He's a little bit more precise and efficient with his movements in the way of he's not going to move a ton. So when he does move, it needs to be scoring motions. Jokic is the same way. The center is the one position where you can get away with that. I think that the exception proves the rule. The fact that Jokic is such a spectacle for being ahead in all of those categories at the center position without moving just shows us how amazing what he's doing is because the league is becoming a more fast-paced track shoe league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see if it keeps up in the offseason. I have a feeling it's going to slow down a lot. I also have a feeling we'll get onto the clips right after this last thing. I feel as if, tell me if it's a wrong take, the NBA in-season tournament should have been pushed back about an extra month. It does feel like as soon as this ends, the teams that know they're not going to be good teams, playoff teams, are just going to stop playing as serious. They're going to be like the Spurs have been, and it's starting to feel like that.
I would disagree. I think just from the standpoint of a lot of people feel like the NBA season starts on Christmas. Like that's the actual start to the NBA season. I've heard that a lot. I don't think so. I think it's good to get these guys playing. I think for teams like the Pacers, this is their playoffs. It's kind of cool to see high intensity games early on. And also, I think I don't know if it really adds anything, but maybe it helps teams make decisions before the trade deadline, whether to get rid of a guy or not. I like it where it's at, honestly, because as much basketball as I watch, I've watched more better quality games this year earlier than Christmas. And usually Christmas is around the time when teams start really kicking it into gear. So I think it's cool. It's happened a little bit earlier.
Got you. Well, one thing we can agree on is this is a hit.
Yeah.
The in-season tournament is 100%.
The courts are awful.
Exactly what
they got to get rid of the courts.
Yeah, the courts are bad.
They just need to do
some are bad.
They just need to do a simple graphic like March Madness. Like how March Madness does. The courts are still playing, but it's a March Madness game when you turn on the TV. They just got to do something like that. And I know the players don't like the decals on the floors because they get slippery, but if they can just, even if they put on like a TV graphic, like a first down line, and they do in the NFL, just a graphic that's only on the TV. I don't know.
Yeah, until they have another Bucks cream jersey situation again, where the graphics, the graphics are blending into the jerseys. Yeah. I think that's the only thing you'd have to be worried about. Go ahead, Isaiah.
I think that I like Josh's take on making sure we have good, intense basketball early into the season, but I do like the sound of the idea of pushing the tournament back a little bit, right? If you push it back a month, that means that the games are played in December. You get your Christmas shenanigans. Maybe we're lucky enough one day to have a Christmas that's on a Friday, right? So the Christmas games are tournament games. We would have their tournament, the elimination part in January. We have All-Star break in February. That sounds cool, right?
And then we're 2 months away.
I also like the idea of having it after the All-Star break. Because in a lot of other sports, before you get to the playoffs, the big tournament, you got to play a tournament to get there. And I think if they put it in, let's say, March, right after All-Star break, everybody has finished. It's done with the trade deadline. Your roster is set for the end of the season. You play your tournament in March. You play the games after in April when teams stop playing in their regular season games because unless you're fighting for a playoff spot, and then they use a playoff spot as like we were talking about this season, they can't give away a playoff spot in the right now in season tournament as a prize because it's way too early in the season and that team would just give up, right? Like the Spurs could win 12 games of basketball and make the playoffs, and those could be their only 12 wins of the season. I get that. But if you do it at the end of the season, and a team that might not have made the playoffs wins that tournament, all I'm saying is if we're not going to leave it exactly where it is, we need to push it to March.
I think that's a horrible idea. Do a tournament where guys are playing as hard as they can right before they go and play even more as hard as they can.
And some team that took the whole regular season off can sneak in.
Yeah, that is, I don't know.
All the haters, clips.
How's that hating? You want to put a tournament right before a tournament? Like that's going to help the NBA problem.
It works for college.
Well, college does it work for college?
It does.
Yeah.
It does kind of, but college is totally
it does.
Not even the
actually.
Same thing. It's not even the same thing. The seasons aren't the same thing. They don't have 82 games.
Madness, you have to play your conference tournament. If the in-season tournament took the place chronologically of their conference tournaments, that postseason would be crazy. We would get Cinderella stories.
The whole point of why there's an in-season tournament. The in-season tournament isn't there to up the end of the season. The end of the season is already perfect.
Hey,
it's the beginning of the season that is everyone's upset about.
Give us another tournament.
Exactly.
Keep the one in November. Give us another one in March.
That's how you make players not care about it.
Hey, ramp it up.
All righty. Let's get on to the very first clip today. We had a little LeBron and Ime Udoka thing. I could only find one thing that had the captions. Here we go. It really is such a quick and simple clip. But at what point did coaches start becoming talking antics with players? So, I know it's been like this for a few seasons, but we're getting ejected for it now.
Well, okay, so he got ejected because that was his second technical. And before that, you can see Ime Udoka says, you guys got to stop crying, and calls them bitches. Mm-hmm. And then LeBron walks over. I get it's easy to talk when you know you're not going to be punched in the mouth, but I love Ime Udoka saying to LeBron, like, "What are you going to do about it?" Like that was hilarious.
A little boy, like LeBron isn't about the same age.
Like that's
why it happened, because they're about the same age. We haven't seen an old head in the league that has been this good. Because even though LeBron is on the decline, old LeBron is still better than a lot of guys in their peak. And so for somebody to be their star player and as old as the coach, things are going to get chippy. Because to LeBron, like his peers should be the guys in the jerseys. Age-wise, it should be the coach. And so when he looks over at the coach and the coach calls him the B word and he gets offended because he's like, don't call me as a man, don't call me that. Man, I think after that double technical, we need to make it okay for them to go scrap it out in the tunnel or something. Like if y'all are chirping.
How old is Udoka before I agree to this?
He's got to be
46.
They're only what, 7 years apart?
7 years apart. That could be brothers.
And Ime played in the league. Like
that's a bad Thanksgiving
with LeBron.
That's all that is.
The man can talk. The man can hoop. I kind of enjoyed it, especially because I felt like LeBron was overreacting, especially in the context where Ime Udoka at least didn't seem like he directly called him that.
I've seen a different clip. He definitely straight up called him that.
He definitely straight up called him that.
Did he? Or did he say you guys have to stop complaining?
He said stop playing.
Little A boy.
Yeah,
that's after.
And then he was saying you need to stop complaining. Yeah, you're acting like a little.
Trying to play that G card, bro. I know it sounds like it's a funny thing for me to say because like yay Draymond, right? I've developed that character or whatever. I really do think if you get double teched up, like in hockey, they have the scrums. Go handle it in the tunnel, and whoever wins get checked back in the next quarter.
You're wild. All right.
No, hold up. Why? If hockey can do it, maybe it'll give some attitude adjustments in the NBA.
Yeah, but we'll lose all the fake pushing fights where we know nobody's going to hit each other. But we still like this
want them to hit each other.
But they never will. The NBA players are not built like that. They really aren't. There's probably a handful in the league that would actually throw hands. It's not hockey. It's not the same players.
I think this season they've had a huge emphasis on letting players play through fouls.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a lot more hard fouls this year than they've allowed before, like the one I'm about to show. And at some point, we have to realize that these are just not basketball plays. It is just not basketball to sit there and talk trash to the coach and the player. It's cool and all. It's funny. It's a fun time. But at what point are you just you're like, they should just go scrap it out? At what point is that just like a different sport? You know what I mean?
Does it really change the sport like that though?
I mean, 100% it does.
Because on a grassroots level, that's basketball, baby.
No,
you can't.
No, it's never been that
in the real world. You know what I'm saying? So you either drop it or you don't, kind of thing.
Well, the real world is the NBA. The NBA is basketball. What people do out on the street ball is not basketball. That's just street ball. That's not the NBA. I think, yeah. If there's a pro league that allows fighting, I'll concede the idea that that's basketball.
Give it 10 years.
Even on the blacktop, fighting isn't cool.
No, it's not cool, but sometimes it needs to happen.
Let's get to the next one. Here is Draymond's immediate next game after coming back.
Oh, no.
Loses his defender. Finds an open George in the corner for the tie. Man with a rebound. Bear hugs it. Brought to the ground. And a jump ball.
Now, people are going crazy over this. I'm not too upset about it.
That's just a jump ball.
That's a basketball.
This is clearly not a basketball play. This is not.
Possession. There's 1, 2.
He's holding on.
Look, he's got 2 hands on the ball and then he fell. Trey Mann is a small guy.
So just because you put your hands on the ball doesn't mean you could bear hug someone.
Hey, no, both hands are on the ball. He's bigger than him. So he can reach the ball and have possession of it.
So in reality, right there, probably should call a dead ball. And if the refs in reality,
this was a travel.
Letting it play,
at least 2 travels.
Right here. This is the travel.
Possession.
Yep.
There's 1, 2.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like this play should have been dead. It's not like he whips him to the ground or anything. This to me looks more like him losing balance. Man's weight is going that direction. And it looks worse than it is.
because he's bear hugging him, right? At some
but the bear hug only
again,
happens because he's probably in his head like waiting for this whistle, and he's like, "What the heck?"
He's got to have both hands on the ball
at this point. I'm not upset at Draymond over it at all. But that being said, this coming right after the Rudy Gobert incident, where you are blatantly bear hugging someone, different. Whether hands are on the ball or not, you can't wrap around someone to get a ball. That's never once been a jump ball for bear hugging someone from behind. It's no one's ever got a jump ball like that. Ever.
No, but it should have been a jump ball before.
100%.
And it
should have been a travel.
It should have been a travel. It should have been a dead ball before.
But because the refs don't call it, we're allowing a bear hug.
I think we're overcompensating how big of a deal.
I don't think he got
because it wasn't like a tackle. I even think bear hug is a little too animated. I think he got both hands on the ball and just happened to be behind the guy, and then didn't let go because you have to have both hands on the ball to force the jump ball call.
I see that as more of a heat of the moment. Basketball play. He's in his head as a player. He's waiting for that whistle.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the panic sets in where it's like, am I not getting this call? Like, what do I do?
He probably didn't even realize he had his arms around the guy. And I know that
you 100% know when you're behind the guy and the ball's in front of him.
Hold on. Because he had one hand on the ball, right? And if anybody knows exactly how big an NBA basketball is, it's an NBA basketball player. So when he has the one hand on the ball, he knows that he only needs to have his other hand this far away. Goes to grab the ball, puts two hands on it. They fall. The whistle happens.
All right.
And
the next one.
To me, let's go.
We got Jordan Poole back at it with Jordan Poole things.
I love
this. We'll start. So clean move, right? Clean move. What
came from nowhere? He's 4 feet in front of him. He's looking right at him. I mean, what is this? That's one hell of a block.
It got robbed by the animation. Thompson jumps high.
The Thompson twins are just jumping out of the gym, man. Those kids are great.
That's that Sean Marion comp. I think that I could have pulled up 30 clips of Jordan Poole doing this kind of Jordan Poole-esque things.
Jordan Poole has a meme once a game. Once a game, he has a meme since he's gotten.
He's JaVale McGee, bro. It's the light skin curse. There is one at all times that will be the butt of every joke. JaVale is about to retire, and it looks like he's passed the torch to Pool Boy.
I think his we're gonna call them bad highlights, right? His failed highlights,
bloopers. I love the term sports bloopers. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think his bloopers are him. Look, you get handed the keys onto a team that has nobody. I mean, Kuzma's cool, but nobody's been saying anything good about Kuzma for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? So for everyone to think that he's all of a sudden a great player is weird.
I mean, he's the best player on that team this season.
100%, maybe. But for Jordan Poole to get handed the keys to the team, and then he goes like Wemby, just go and ball, just go and do whatever. At some point, you're gonna have all of these lowlights. I'm not excusing them, but I think this was kind of expected.
The Jordan
How did he get robbed by the animations in real life?
The lowlights are funny though, just because it's like a cocky mental thing, like him taking the three and spinning around and looking at the bench, like
that Porzingis one.
Yeah, it's like he does it to himself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, if he was turning the ball over 6-7 times a game and it was just normal play, it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like, what else is he gonna do? He has not great spacing around him. He's the only one that can create his own shot on that team, but he does it to himself.
Yeah, 100%. It like I said, you can't. Some of them are just you can't even defend. On to the next one. We have up
Oh, boy.
32.
Yeah, you're not doing this to me.
Intentionally fouling, shacking the fool Andre Drummond.
My boy.
Just so they can get into the in-season tournament. It worked. How are we? Here, let me see if I can get one with just the players here. Oh, I guess it's just a lot of the coaches here. How are we feeling about this high of a deficit, keeping what is, quote unquote, the players' rule, not running up the score, etc., and now all of a sudden we're allowing it? How do we feel about that? There's circumstantial, and there's also like, look, this has been a rule, like an inside rule, like a unspoken rule for how many years now? How many people have been punched or teched or almost jumped on the court for this?
I think if it's a random Tuesday night in February, it's weird and can't support that. But considering there's a point differential that matters, this game mattered. Them winning by 23 points mattered. You do what you have to do to win. Like, and as far as I'm concerned, Andre Drummond's one of the worst free throw shooters in the league. And
I see on the floor.
And
we have no centers besides him and Vooch. That's why he's on the floor. Yeah, it's bad.
You know, it's again, if this was just a random game, like that's weird. I think people are like talking about that all week, and it's just like, what the hell's going on? It's super disrespectful. But considering the point differential matters and all that mattered, and the Celtics were in a spot that it mattered, I thought it was great coaching.
The Bulls made it look worse by playing like their third string players while down 32, and the Celtics are playing their starters.
Yeah, that's
so
on the Bulls.
I wouldn't say it's on the Bulls. They gave up on the game that they should normally
the Bulls,
give up
the
on.
Bulls, it makes sense because the Bulls are out of the tournament. It didn't matter. So for them, it's a random Tuesday night. They're down 32 points. I'm not having Zach LaVine, who I want to trade, tear something. I'm putting them on the bench.
If you put those guys out there, you have to treat them like the starters. Otherwise, you're on some, hey, take it easy on me kind of energy because you have the third stringers out there. Every single person on the bus to every single one of these games in the locker room, lacing up their shoes before these games, knows that the score matters and that they're playing in a tournament where how much they win by matters. I think everyone should be like mentally looking to win by 30, 40. That's the mentality you have to go in with those kinds of things. And if they start running up the score, like, you shouldn't have lost to put yourself in that position anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like,
if you're mad about it, stop them.
Yeah, do something about it.
Put your starters back in. Put all free throw shooter people. That can
the score differential they had to hit was 23. And they
were almost up
a 32-point lead. Yeah. So at some point you do go, you're just running it up for fun now because all you had needed was 23. It's all you had to get.
They could come back.
Correct.
They could come back.
While playing Andre Drummond and not trying. They visibly, coach said multiple times to the Celtics coach.
If the Celtics go cold,
we're conceding the game.
If you give up and lay down and die, you can't get mad at how somebody kills you. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? If you're in the UFC and you go fetal on the mat, it's somebody stomping on your ribs because you let them do that. Like, sorry, you should have fought in a combat sport. If the Celtics are up 23, that means they're tied.
Well, I think it's the same metaphor you just made.
So if they're up 32, they're only up
the same
9.
way stomping on ribs is illegal. At some point, it should just be like, look, you're up 32 and we're clearly not trying. You don't have to keep doing this and fouling our guy for no reason. You could just
were they
go
doing
shoot
that
the
when
ball.
They were up 32, or were they doing that trying to get up to 23?
They were up 32 in this clip. They're up 32 in this clip. 79 to 111.
Up 23 is tied because that's the goal they need is up 23. So they were contextually they were up 9. And 9 points isn't a big deficit. If the Chicago Bulls just decide, hey, screw these guys, we're going to lose, but so are they. And then they win by 22, you know, like that would suck. That would be the worst 22-point win in history. Can you imagine the feeling on the bus after that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah. The points matter.
They got to smack the coins out of them because that's just the nature of the tournament.
If you're mad about it, put your starters back in. You have big men that can shoot free throws better than Drummond. Stop it.
Fair. You know? On to the next one. We have one of your favorite teams here, Josh. It's just a fun little thing. This guy is becoming one of my favorite young guys. The Magic.
Okay.
The Magic.
I thought you were going to give me the Pistons or something.
No.
I thought he was going to give us the Oklahoma City Cradle Robbers.
The highlight here is, to me, entirely what this Magic team has been. All energy, all heart. Jalen Suggs might be becoming like Pat Bev, but with skill. I don't know if that's a hot take, but and then they're doing the LeBron D Wade here. It's a beautiful thing, young team. How are we feeling about the Magic so far this year? How are we feeling about, most importantly, Jalen Suggs?
I love it. I mean, they're making me look like a genius just because I told everybody from the start of the season that the Magic were the real deal.
They're the second seed right now.
They were over 500 last year towards the end of the year. And what's crazy now, though, is that they don't have Wendell Carter Jr. They've had other guys missing time, and they're still as good as they are. Jalen Suggs is really coming along. He didn't really look like a total bust, but he kind of looked like one of those guys that it's like, where does he totally fit? And he's been playing really well. He's really picked it up defensively. He's always been able to shoot, but he seems like he's getting more comfortable shooting with the very minimal space you get to shoot in the NBA. And yeah, I think he's putting a lot together. That whole team is really great.
Yeah, 100%. Isaiah?
Yeah, no point in beating a dead horse. The Magic are looking like a really hot young team. Jalen Suggs has been in the league, 2 years, 3 years? Looking like he's finally coming into his own with that squad. He seems like exactly what they need out of a PG. They look happy. They're all healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Paolo looks good. Go Magic,
Yep.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the league, Marcus Smart snapping on the Grizzlies here. And you might not be able to hear it here, but this is what it looks like animated. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s body language here is really upsetting me. And then we have what the fans said courtside here. Marcus Smart. This is effing embarrassing several times. Fans are not paying to come watch them, and they're not even trying, etc. Look, it's really cool to see a guy like Marcus Smart try and step up for this team like that, but it feels too late. I still think Ja will come back and have one of the best runs for a point guard we'll probably see this season.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't matter. And I feel bad for Marcus Smart. He's in no man's land, went from a contender to nobody team.
I feel like for him to get to this point on the court when he knows the cameras are on him, he's brought this up plenty of times in practices and stuff like that. So I don't really buy into being too late. I think this is probably just like the boiling over point. And this is probably something that's been discussed internally over and over and over again. The Grizzlies, man, they got a really rough deal this year. The Jaws stuff aside, Steven Adams, that was huge, and they also don't have Zaire Williamson. So, they didn't come into the season thinking, oh, we're not going to have Ja. Well, they knew they weren't going to have Ja, but it's like they didn't know they were also going to have their starting and backup center. And Steven Adams is one of those guys that not necessarily a stat sheet stunner, but the dude impacts every single play.
Yep. And he's also the guy on the court for them that's always been there. Desmond Bane is trying to become it. I guess Marcus Smart can help a little bit, but Steven Adams is always your Draymond, your whoever who's going to sit there and back up your teammate no matter what. It's always been Steven Adams. If you're getting into a scuffle, Steven Adams is going to pull you away. They don't really have that now. And now it's two guards kind of, but you would like to see a big man be that for your teams. Usually that bigger guy feels like a bigger role. And Xavier Tillman is one of my favorite guys in that team, and he's been out for most of the season. So it is one of those, it sucks to see, but I feel really bad for Marcus Smart, especially the situation he was thrown into when, to be honest, it was, he's going to get there. He's going to be exactly what they need for the playoffs, and now they might not even make it.
Yeah. I think it's a decent chance they don't, but they're what, 3 games out of the play-in?
Are they really?
I think they're only 3 or 4 games out of the bottom seat of the play-in. Yeah, I could be wrong. I'll pull it up. You guys can keep going.
Got you. One last thing here. Isaiah, we'll let you go first on this one. LeBron James in a press conference.
God's hands, man, and just trust it. That's it. You know, we prayed as a family. You know, we had great doctors along the way the whole time telling us that, you know, they believe things will, you know, work out for us in our favor. You know, so and Bronny took care of his business. He did everything and didn't have any setbacks and didn't try to rush the process of his rehab. He took every step accordingly to plan. And, you know, for him to, you know, get that, like I said, get that clearance over the last 48 hours was a big time for him.
Spoken about just how amazed you've been by his poise and his.
I don't know where it is in this. I'm not going to sit through this whole thing. Short ways. LeBron James says if Bronny's first game is the same day as the Lakers game, he's going to go there. A lot of the NBA, especially a lot of NBA fans, are conflicted on if it's okay for a guy who gets paid millions to take a day off like that to go watch his son play, or if the guy who's been your best employee for 20 years is allowed to have one day off. What are you guys' opinions on it?
So I think it's crazy for people to expect LeBron to be the greatest basketball player of all time, the greatest philanthropist of all time, the most active socially, as far as NBA greats go. You know, Michael Jordan wasn't taking any political stances for anybody or giving back to the community. For them to expect all of that of LeBron and not let him take that same approach to being a father is ridiculous to me. That's his oldest son's first NBA game. There are 82 games in the season.
Yeah,
my bad. I forget that he's got 1 year left to play before he can jump into the draft, right? There are 82 regular season games for LeBron, right? 82 opportunities to play. If he's going to miss one because of a toe injury or because he's got to rest for the playoffs, like, you know, he has PTO. Like, let's just keep it a buck. LeBron isn't going to play 82 games in a season. You know, he's probably got it baked in. He wants to play 70. Right? Which means that there are 12 games that even without, if he's healthy, he would get 12 games. So he gets one first game with his oldest son. But he has 82 games to play in that season. There's no way that it should be a big deal.
Yeah. Pretty much what he said. I think this probably happens with a lot of NBA players. They're just not LeBron, so it's just not public. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, this is just a game. And that's his kid who, by the way, just went into cardiac arrest and came out of it and has got the okay to play again. You know, it'd be one thing if it was like a consistent thing, like, oh, I'm going to miss this game. And, oh, well, USC is playing UCLA. I'm going to miss this game to go watch that. That'd be a little weird. And I think that's when it'd become a problem. But for one game, especially considering LeBron's age, and like you said, he's going to take games off anyways. He probably has something nagging him anyways, right? I mean, at his age, he's never going to be 100% healthy. He's probably got something nagging him anyways. Take the night off. Who cares?
Let's say USC makes the final tournament or whatever, right? And he wants to go take off every one of those days to watch those games. Has been wild. Your best employee for 20 years.
That's wild. You have
he's never done a single thing wrong in the league. Never. Except for maybe leave Cleveland.
Yeah, but
never done a thing wrong.
At that point, you're letting your teammates down.
Yeah, because you also have to think about the time of year too. The March Madness games that happen in March don't matter that much. But let's say he decides to take off of every time they overlap from the end of March to April. That means that your best employee of 20 years told you to figure it out during the most important quarter of your season, your fiscal year. That guy gets fired for that. Best employee for 20 years, you are fired for leaving everybody up high and dry for a month.
Considering that
we already know he's getting statutes. At some point, he could have retired last year.
But he didn't.
You're not just paying. At this point, you're not paying LeBron to play basketball. You're not paying him all these millions for basketball alone. You're not. You're paying him because he's going to bring the most names, most eyes to your team. He's going to bring how many jersey sales. LeBron, I hate to say it, LeBron isn't playing at his level of contract right now. He's not.
Hold on. How much is he getting paid?
Or max. But I think we're getting a little too into the weeds here. But yeah, I think for the one-time thing, no
but the
problem.
one game, I agree. He should be able to take this.
But a consistent thing, that's weird. And yeah, I think at that point, people have a right to have a problem with it.
Got you. Well, let's get on to the next thing. And the next thing is, are we doing
Durant?
Durant finally becomes top 10 in scoring. Finally. It feels like he should have already been there. Not going to lie.
He should have.
The injuries,
everything like that. He still has presumably 3-4 more years in the league at minimum. He could easily get, looking at the numbers, he could easily get up to that top 6, 7. You know what I mean? And maybe even higher. This is a huge milestone. Minus how anybody feels about KD. I don't know how many times in our lifetime we're going to see people hit top 10, especially with the generation we have now. I don't know how many times we're going to see people hit that top 10. And I think it's important that people realize what they are witnessing.
Yeah, so just real quick, I think every generation has their, it comes in waves, right? Eras come in waves. And so every so often, the all-time lists have changes at similar times, and then they'll be left alone for a while, right? LeBron crested number 1. We've seen that coming since like 2015. I remember people talking about it and expecting it, knowing that he was on track to do it when he was in Miami, being honest. And that was only halfway through his career, which is kind of crazy to think about. Kevin Durant is at 10. Very likely that he floats up to 9, maybe 8 by the time he's finished playing. Could have been higher if he didn't spend so much of his prime injured. We might have one other name creep up there, 2 other names creep up there the next year or 3. And outside of that, like that list, let me take a look at the list and I'll give you a specific name.
Got you. I have no idea who's even close. But I think, like I said, it's just crazy to see it happen. He does it with a layup, which is kind of funny that both him and LeBron kind of went with, like, LeBron went with the signature almost move to hit his, and Kevin Durant just said, forget it. But I do think he's at 27,409 right now. Give him a few more seasons. I think he can easily get up to
27,450.
Oh, maybe it's changed. No, 450. Yeah, I'm looking at Moses Malone by accident. I think he easily gets up to Michael Jordan by the end of his career. Michael Jordan's 32K. That's 2,000 points a season. That's pretty normal for guys at his level.
I think
he could easily get up to that top 5. He won't get close to LeBron.
No, yeah, I like the Michael Jordan eyeball. What I think is hilarious, right, is he is right behind Carmelo Anthony all time, which is who I think he is this generation's version of, but with rings, just better employment choices. Because Carmelo was the best scorer in the league at one point that a lot of people forget. He's number 9 on the all-time scoring list. Kevin Durant's going to jump him and Shaq in the same season, and then he's going to jump Wilt and Dirk in the same season. Hopefully he crests Mike. It's possible he crests Kobe.
I don't think he gets to Carl. I don't think he gets to Carl at all.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to have enough games to get up past like Dirk and Wilt.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't know how much he's...
Yeah, I mean, that's a 4,000 point difference.
I mean, it's a lot of points. It's a lot of points. And I mean, how many more years does Durant really have, you think, before?
I say about 4 or 5 I think 4 at minimum. I'll be honest.
I think that's pretty hopeful. I think that's hopeful for him. Considering
he's 35.
When you consider his personality, his injury history, I think that's a little hopeful for him. I could see him being a guy that hangs it up a year or 2 early and just being like, I'm good.
Got you. Well, besides his first season with Brooklyn and besides that season, he's had close to 2,000, 1.6, 1.4-ish. You give him that he's already at 558 this season. You give him that for 3-4 more seasons, and he's close to Michael. And I think, look, regardless of where he gets to, being in top 10 is crazy.
Yeah.
With all the players ever, being in top 10 is wild. And I just thought it was important that we highlighted that.
For sure. So to accentuate that, I may have overestimated how close other people were that are currently in the league right now. The next highest person from Kevin Durant is James Harden. I don't believe that James Harden is going to have a long enough career to do it. Behind him is Russell Westbrook, right? Carmelo Anthony is going to be the new number 10, the new wall for being top 10 scoring all time. Russ has 24,685 points, which puts him 3,604 points behind Carmelo. If he averages 20 points a game every game, it will take him 180 games to catch number 10, which is, hold on,
that's more than 2 seasons.
Especially since
I
he
actually
won't play
so
82
disagree.
games a season.
I so disagree. I think Harden easily makes top 10 if he continues the path he's on. He's a year younger than KD and only 3,000 points below him. That's at minimum 3 seasons.
Harden's another guy, though. I don't see him playing well into the end.
That's
of
my
his
thing.
career,
I don't think
and
people are going to
see him hanging it up early.
You think
What
James
is
Harden
early?
is the type of guy to hang around and lose?
Is early 37? I feel like 37 is just the norm for guys at that skill level.
But Durant is how old? And you're saying
35, but I think Durant is a higher skill level than Harden. I'm just talking Harden here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but okay, so maybe not a year early, but they're not playing till 38. They're not playing. Not every player is LeBron. I mean,
no, fair. So, no, that's fair.
I think if anybody, maybe Curry, because Curry's the type of guy that he can hang around the league for a lot longer than those guys and just be a spot up shooter towards the end.
Where's he's not 25, and he's the same age as Harden. I don't know if Curry gets close. He has
2,000 points, almost 3,000 points less than James Harden.
That's true.
Maybe Curry is having the best season of his career almost.
I just see Curry having more longevity and being able to put up more points at the end of his career, because there's always going to be room in the league for he could turn into Ray Allen at the end of his career.
Yeah, like that guy he has a whole other mold.
Yeah, he could just be a
play.
100%. All right, let's go on to the next one, guys. Let's get to bottom feeders.
Ugh.
Yeah,
let's get to bottom feeders. The worst teams in the league. We'll start with the East teams. Let's start with the Hornets. Now, we originally had this topic for last week, so I don't have their exact records. So if somebody can pull up the records right now, the records I had written down were for last week's.
They're 6-12.
6-12. So they're not any better than they were
better
last
than
week.
the Bulls.
They're also on this list of mine. Did not worry. That being said, LaMelo's injured, but he was balling out. That's a really good thing for the Hornets here. I really like Brandon Miller and Mark Williams on that team. They look solid for the future. I think they need a move. Look, Gordon Hayward comes up at the end of this season. Do not re-sign him. I think Terry Rozier, he could be a trade piece. He doesn't fit the timeline. But I really like the young core that they're bringing together here. It's going to be some more years. Their timeline isn't now. Their timeline isn't next year. I really think they're on the same timeline as like a Spurs. I like the young core here, and they're winning games they shouldn't be. Yeah, like the Celtics game.
So, I mean, for what they are, cool. I am starting to worry a bit about LaMelo because it seems like he's maybe injury prone. I don't like saying that about guys, but it kind of feels like it's starting to look that way with him. They do have a cool little trio with Mark Williams and LaMelo, and Brandon Miller definitely looks better than he did in Summer League. And, they have new ownership coming in. So that's another thing that maybe you can be a little hopeful about if you're a Hornets fan.
Can I be real?
Go ahead.
About LaMelo, I think that he is tall Trae Young. I used to be a huge LaMelo guy. I used to love LaMelo. I think we have our hopes too high for tall
Have you watched
Trae
any
Young.
Hornets games this season?
Bits and pieces, not nearly as much as you guys have. But
LaMelo is definitely more of a highlight player. I will
LaMelo
say that.
feels like
but
a jump shooting, flashy version of Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, I guess Penny didn't win nothing either.
It just in the way of it's a lot of downhill. It's a lot of,
and he's tall, and that matters
and
to
he's
his
tall,
game. I mean,
and he uses that as a huge part of his game.
When he was healthy, he dragged that team to the play-in.
For sure.
The problem is it's starting to seem like he's gonna be hurt a lot,
and he has nobody.
If your best guy is hurt a lot,
yeah, then your
Just
second
like
best guy is your best guy.
Yeah,
because the best ability is availability.
And who's the second best player on that team? I mean,
Terry
Rozier.
Terry Rozier, yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, he's not that scary anymore.
Yeah, don't love that.
Yeah. On to the next team in the East here. I don't know if they're the worst. We'll go with for sure two of the worst teams. We'll go to the Pistons here. A team I was super high on coming into this season.
17 in a row losses.
Yeah, clearly wrong. But man, did they look good in Team USA. They have had some injury problems. They've had a lot of injury problems. That being said, Thompson twin. I think that one is a SAR. I think I really like him. I really do. Now, look, he could be another young guy that they have that looks really good in their first season, like Jaden Ivey, and then they just never utilize him right afterwards. But what I'm seeing, I really like. And I still think you don't need to panic if you're the Pistons. I don't think you need to. I think you have enough young guys where you can move these guys if you eventually get 1 to 2 to 3 that you like. You have enough guys that you can be like, all right, I could trade you for picks.
Sure, but I mean, at what point do you stop rebuilding? The last time the Pistons had a winning season, Obama was president. It was his first term. It was his first term. And before that, it was like 2006 that they were over 500. They have the worst spacing in the whole league by far. Them trying to sell their fan base and all of us on this pipe dream that Isaiah Stewart's going to be a shooting 4 when the guy can't handle the ball and can't play make. That's crazy.
No, but listen, right? It's not that they're going to be good. It's that they shouldn't panic. Because they are the worst team in the East. That means they're going to get the best draft pick out of the East.
Maybe they changed how it works. Remember?
For sure. So, but being the worst is still, the odds are still in their favor. If they win twice as many games, right? If they become twice as good as they are right now, they still only have 4 games that they've won this season. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're a long way away from being satisfying. So far away that stressing yourself out about being a good team is way in the future.
I just want to see them compete. And I
do see what you're saying, because if they don't start turning this around in 2 seasons, they lose their best player. If they don't start turning it around in 3 seasons, they lose the rookie they have.
Also,
you know what I'm saying? This
whole deal with Jaden Ivey and Monte just benching him, like I just don't know what's going on there. They're starting Killian Hayes, who's one of the
I don't get that.
Might be the worst player in the league. He might be the worst NBA player in the league.
I'll say this on record. He is one of the worst lottery picks we've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. They have this mix of older guys on their team. Alec Burks. It's just weird. They have Joe Harris. They got to figure out something. I love Duren. I absolutely love him. He's had trouble staying healthy. In fairness to them, Cade missing all of last season did kind of put them a year behind the 8 ball in terms of camaraderie and them getting used to playing with each other. But this is just a bad roster. They haven't proven that they're going to get better through the draft. Their only good draft pick has been, or their 2 good draft picks I guess 3. Sorry. Azur Thompson, Cade Cunningham. I wouldn't even count that because that's a gimme. And you could argue that that might have been the wrong pick because Scotty Barnes looks pretty damn good. And then Jalen Duren, I think where they got him was a steal.
Yeah.
But besides,
and is that even them making a good draft pick, or is that Jalen Duren just
being? Yeah,
it feels like Cade Cunningham is becoming Ben Simmons, where you have these off-season highlights and he's going off and he's having these crazy games, right? But then the season starts and it's just not there.
I think,
and in fairness, he's doing okay, but come on.
Yeah, but in fairness, he has the worst spacing in the league.
Yeah.
So you think spacing turns Cade Cunningham into Prince Charming? You think that's what fixes?
No, but he's a slashing playmaking guard. And when your team doesn't have to guard anybody else on the floor, unless
your best shooter is Joe Harris, who's like your ninth man.
I mean, I see him getting double teamed with weak side help all the time. I mean, that doesn't happen to many players in the league.
That's fair.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's unfair to judge Cade based off of the situation.
I agree.
Some of it does land on him. I'm not saying he's totally perfect and whatever here, but man, when you're getting double teamed and there's a weak side shader helping out, like, and you can't even kick it out to anybody. Like, he kicks it out and they miss wide open shots over and over and over again. So I don't know. And they're stuck with Monty Williams. They gave him that huge contract and it's
not looking good for him.
Yeah.
Let's hope player development means player development like a year or so from now.
Yeah. I think they need to start flipping this whole roster. James Wiseman's got to go. Isaiah Stewart has got to go. I'm tired of being sold that pipe dream about him. Killian Hayes, I don't know.
Might as well just release him.
Is he too old to put back in the G League? He probably is at this point. I don't understand why Jaden Ivey isn't starting. Of course, I haven't watched a ton of Pistons game because it makes me absolutely miserable to watch.
I'll say this. I don't know stats wise, but the Pistons games I've watched, because I've watched a few, Jaden Ivey and Killian Hayes look about the exact same this season. And that's just not good.
I'd say they look pretty similar, but I also feel like Killian Hayes has proved to us that this is the player he is.
Yeah.
And Ivy showed flashes last year that this is not him.
I was very high on Ivy last season.
So, I think it's crazy.
I agree. Let's get to the next one here. Wizards. They're a two-man show. They don't have much off-ball movement, if at all, because they are just watching Kuzma and Poole do Kuzma and Poole. Tyus Jones still hasn't gotten any kind of shine for that team, and he was supposed to be. And before this season, Tyus Jones was Tyrese Halliburton in the way of best assist to turnover ratio in the entire league.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they really have going for them, in my opinion, is they can trade those two guys, and they have Coulibaly and Denny Avdia, and I like both of those guys. Oh, and Gafford. They have those three guys. I really like them for the future. I also like Tyus Jones a lot. And it does feel like they could eat. They have, in my opinion, they fast-tracked themselves into not doing a complete rebuild. And while it's cool, I'd feel like the guys who they put in place to be their quote-unquote main guys is what is making it look like you should have just gutted it all. Yeah. And I think if they were able to move those two guys and bring in, flip both of them for Scotty Barnes in a perfect world, and your fast track on the rebuild looks better. But it's just not looking that way right now, and it looks like they should completely destroy it. But I like at least 4 players on this team, and in my opinion, all 4 should be starting.
I like Coulibaly. That's about it.
You don't like Tyus Jones, not Gafford?
I like Tyus Jones. I like Gafford, but I agree with a lot of what you said. They're in a weird spot. They got to blow it up. They didn't blow it up enough. And now they're paying too much money to guys who can't save them. So they just got to move on.
Jordan Poole, he can be traded. What, January? Is it January 15th that he will
something
be
like that?
Able to trade? He's got to go. I get the I mean, we all kind of got the impression, and I mean, the Wizards even somewhat admitted it behind closed doors, that they kind of brought him in to recoup his trade value and tried to flip him. So
I swear to God, if the Bulls are a team that take him, I will riot.
What do the Bulls give up?
Anybody, because we don't want anybody anymore but Kobe White, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Kyle Kuzma could actually get you back some interesting young pieces at the trade deadline if you look at a team that maybe has an injury or something, or, you know, just feels like they're one piece away and he kind of fills that void. So they got to make a trade, but historically Washington's never blown it up. They just don't. Washington would always rather stay in the middle. We've seen that from ownership historically. And I think that's probably what we're going to get more of, is just, and they also can't draft.
I didn't even think about this when we were talking about this, but I did now. The entire problem with the Wizards is they've always refused to completely rebuild. Always have refused it, since John Wall didn't work, since Bradley Beal didn't work. Their owner has always refused to completely rebuild. And now that they have, before this season, they brought in a new GM, they brought in a new president, and I thought it would turn things around, but it still feels like the last GM, this new GM said himself, not the new one, whatever one it was that gave Beal the contract, said himself that they were told by ownership to supermax Bradley Beal, or to max him, or whatever contract they gave dude. And it's clearly become a thing of the ownership thinks that they are basketball GMs for this team. And it's just going to keep them in no man's land probably forever.
You know, I think a lot of that, and this is kind of a weird thing just because he didn't win much there, but I do think a lot of that was just loyalty to Beal and ownership trying to say, hey, you know, you stuck with us, you kept re-signing here, and we're going to give you the bag, and we're still going to trade you. I think the no trade clause was absolutely insane. Yeah. Absolutely insane. But they still got a decent haul back for him.
Did they?
For the situation, for Bradley Beal's age, with what he's shown on the court recently, his contract, and the no trade clause, I feel like they got a decent haul back.
They got picks, and I guess they do get all of the. This Tyus Jones stuff doesn't count in that trade, does it? That was a part of the Porzingis trade, right?
Correct.
So they get back, which, by the way, Porzingis is looking like he clearly should have been on a different team his whole career. It is starting to feel like maybe they just don't know how to utilize players. I don't know what the issue is over in the Wizards.
So sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have it pulled up right here, and it's actually better than I thought. The Wizards received Chris Paul, who they flipped for Jordan Poole, who they're planning on flipping again, I'm sure. Landry Shamet, who cares? 6 second-round picks and 4 pick swaps.
First-round pick swaps?
Yeah. And the 4 pick swaps are the Suns in their years 2024, 2026, 2028, and 2030. Those 2028 and 2030 picks for the Suns
could be big.
Could be really good. Could be really good. And again, obviously that's not like a huge trade package, but for the circumstance with the contract he was on, his age, the no trade clause, and him basically publicly saying, I only want to go here. I think they actually did pretty well with that. The only thing I'm going to say is that right now at 3-16, it looks like they're tanking with trade pieces on their team. And when January, the first trade mark is December 15th. And then it's January 15th where all the guys who signed extensions this past year can get traded. If they move Kuzma and Poole, they still might already still be in the bottom, and they could recoup some good stuff. And this could actually be where Washington turns it around. I don't know. That's probably a pipe dream, but
I don't think they turn it around record or winning wise.
No,
but I think they turn around their image of we're not failing a rebuild.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the start of a turnaround, right? Where it's like, okay, we're definitely rebuilding. We have all these 4 pick swaps, and we're gonna just develop Koulibaly. We're gonna keep Tyus Jones, who I think is a perfect point guard for a rebuilding team. And hopefully they don't have any more drafts where they pick guys like Johnny Davis. Because
I think Tyus Jones is another one of those guys you can trade to a contender.
I wouldn't trade Tyus Jones. If I'm a rebuilding team, unless somebody offered me something crazy, I'm not trading Tyus Jones. Just because I think having a point guard like him is just so
because if you end up drafting a big
players. Yep.
Fair.
Any guys you draft, Tyus Jones is going to make a better player from day one. Just being on the court with him. And he's not on a crazy contract or anything like that. And I think the dude is probably happy there. He's never been a starter in the NBA, and now he is. So good for him.
Let's get to our last our last East team. My favorite team, the Bulls. If everyone is listen, okay? This is going to be a little bit more biased than the other ones because I'm a fan. If everyone's tradable, we have potentially near limitless trade potential.
Mm-hmm.
And Kobe White, since us saying that we're gonna rebuild, Kobe White's been on a tear, like an absolute tear. I don't have faith for him in the future. I don't. I think this is look. Just do what you want to do, Kobe. We're trying to get Levine and stuff out of here. But that being said, that means we have decent young guys that could easily still keep us entertaining while tanking with Kobe White, with Patrick Williams. We have decent young guys in them. I don't think they get us anywhere. But we have good pieces to trade. We have really good pieces to trade. The only problem is we have to trade them.
So you guys saw that Levine is going to be out for, a few weeks or whatever with some type of injury. And I had heard this theory rumor that the Bulls already have a trade lined up for Zach LaVine. And it involves players that can't be traded until December 15th. And that's why this injury isn't even a real thing. And they're just putting him to the bench because they don't, want to run the risk of him getting hurt. That's rumor, wild theory. Something
it makes sense.
Just to throw out there, it does make sense. It lines up with the December 15th, and players, there's a lot of the league becomes tradable on the 15th. So we'll see.
If we move Levine, in my opinion, we have to move DeMar the same season.
Facts. Yeah.
And if we keep DeMar, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes to the draft. And it also feels like we have certain guys that also have to be moved. If we move DeMar, we have to move Vooch probably.
Yeah.
And then you have to think, okay, who else can we get people back for? Caruso can go to a contender, right? Besides that, I feel but it just feels like too many pieces need to be moved in such a short amount of time. And it feels like this is the kind of rebuild that's going to take 1 to 2 years to even get us started on the route of tanking. And that's where I'm like, ugh, we're now going to be stuck in no man's land for a while.
Possibly. I mean, I think everybody on that team is for sale besides if you really like Colby White. And
no, he's for sale.
If you still have faith in Patrick Williams, I mean, maybe. I've never seen it with him.
I've seen the Kuminga possibility of DeMar for Kuminga. I like it. He's a young guy, puts us in a different timeline. Doesn't mean we win with him, but it does put DeMar somewhere where DeMar has a chance of being successful. That being said, the Warriors would just get older, and that's kind of their problem.
I think Donovan's got to go, and they got to just go full rebuild.
I agree. 100%. I agree. Anything else on the Bulls? We'll move off of that. We all get they're bad, and there's not really much nice to say about them because they don't have anything.
Well, the Bulls,
cool jerseys, very cool jerseys.
Yes, swaggy jerseys. Man.
The Bulls are the team in this bottom that
3 years ago we were the first seed. By the way,
I'm the most upset about because I get it's only one player. But if Lonzo is healthy, we're not having this conversation.
We're at least a playoff team.
If Lonzo's healthy, they're at worst a play-in team. At worst. And it's just too bad that things have gone the way they've gone with him. I do hope he gets healthy eventually. But
I do too.
Does this mean that LeVar Ball is bad at raising kids?
I think I think he's bad at designing shoes. And
I think he's
that
wear those
destroyed
Lonzo's
career.
Facts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and well, that being said, I don't know. Actually, I forgot what LaMelo's injury was. I'm not trying to wish any injuries on people. I'm going to get that out of the air. Jazz. We're looking at the Jazz right now. Last year, they went on the crazy run that ended close to about this time. Look, they have a USA caliber center in Kessler who hasn't played, who has barely played, who was pretty good for that team as well. Collins is looking okay on offense for them. Defense is but that's always been John Collins. And I guess the main question they need to ask themselves is Lauri Markkanen a guy we're going to give the max to? And I think that's kind of where they're at right now. I don't know I think they have too many questions and not enough answers, and they're probably hoping for a draft pick to give them some kind of answer.
Do we think anybody else in the league is giving Lauri Markkanen a max?
No, but I think the Warriors might give him a bag.
But he's going to be restricted, right? He's going to be restricted.
No, that's the Klay Thompson trade rumor. The biggest one is Klay for Lauri.
Why? If I'm the Jazz and I'm rebuilding, why do I want Klay?
And if I'm the Warriors, comes up at the end of the season, then you have extra money.
And trying to win, why do I want Lauri Markkanen
is a winner.
Yeah,
let's not get it wrong. He was a starting all-star last year.
But does he? I don't know. I don't know if he's. We've also never seen him in the playoffs. I don't know if I'm trading away a guy like Klay for.
But do you need him to be amazing in the playoffs? Klay is horrible in the playoffs last year.
Fair.
Let's not forget that. Let's not forget Klay's been bad for almost 3 seasons now.
If the Warriors are going to move anybody to be competitive, Kuminga for DeRozan, they win. I think they beat the Nuggets.
Klay is their worst player. Out of their starters and Kuminga, Klay has been playing the worst on that team. Chris Paul's been injured, so it's like, Chris Paul always gets injured around this time. Yeah, so it's like, but Klay has been playing horrible.
It's hard for me.
I know everyone wants to keep Klay, Steph, and Draymond together because they're what made them a good franchise.
It's not even that. It's just, it's hard for me to really fully buy, which I probably should. But it's hard for me to fully buy that this is just who Klay Thompson is now.
Yeah.
It's been this way for 3.
Yeah, but it was coming back from injuries, and he's shown flashes where it's like, oh, old Klay is back. He's shown flashes that have been whole games. I'm not talking about a 3-minute spurt in a quarter. I'm talking about he's shown up and played full games where obviously the defense is never going to be there, but he looks as close to the old Klay as you're going to get. So it's hard for me to totally buy this.
They got a ring with old Klay.
Especially I just think the Warriors are bad. I think their team is just built pretty bad right now. They're probably the smallest team in the NBA. And
one of the oldest.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but it feels like it. It sure feels like it.
It sure it does.
I'll say this. If we were doing 5 teams, we'd be talking about the Warriors as well right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's probably good we're not. But before we move from the Warriors, I just want to say, at some point, you have to look at Curry and go, you're still playing some of the best basketball of your career, and we need to give you somebody if we want to compete.
If I'm trading Klay away, I'm trying to go after like a Donovan Mitchell or somebody that has proven that they can.
That's not Klay's value anymore.
No, but I'm saying you're packaging things together.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? It's like Kuminga and maybe another pick or 2 or something like that, Klay, and we're going after somebody that is a proven playoff performer. Just because you only get to trade Klay once.
Do you need a proven playoff performer with Curry on your team?
Yes. Because the playoffs are all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
But Curry doesn't need someone who will play at his level. Curry just needs someone who will play at a decent level.
No one's going to play at Curry's level, but they need players that are going to perform in the playoffs. And
you think that's Klay Thompson?
No, but that's what I'm saying. I would rather keep Klay, who I know there's something there, than trade it away for 2 birds in a bush. It's one in the hand. You can only trade Klay once.
Keep Klay, and you have to re-sign him in the offseason for presumably around similar amount. That's the issue, I think.
Yeah.
It's because
okay
you
with them
are going to
trading him.
re-sign him if you don't trade him. That's just the Warriors.
I'm all for trading him, just not for somebody that hasn't proved that they can play in the playoffs.
Well,
the playoffs are a different game.
I think Lowry's young. He's been on horrible teams.
Mm-hmm. And last year is the first year that he looked like a really good player.
And he still looked that way this season.
Right, but that was the first time that he's ever looked like a really good player. I mean, the Bulls, the Cavs, everyone was kind of just like,
I do like Clay for Levine or Clay for DeRozan here. I don't know if either of those two are proven playoff performers either.
DeRozan, no, I guess
no.
He does it.
Raptors team that season, yeah.
And he got to a Spurs team that had just won, and that's crazy. He just keeps going where championships aren't. That's unfortunate.
Well, he was first seed. He did lead us to a first seed. But anyways, next team, Trailblazers. I think, in my honest opinion, this is the worst version of Scoot we'll see for a long time. Hopefully.
I hope so.
And if that's true, Jeremy Grant is at least looking like he's worth 70% of the money he got. And that's an upside because a lot of people are saying he wasn't worth it at all. Brogdon is probably Brogdon is probably one of the best trade pieces in the Western Conference right now, in my opinion. I think any contender looks at Brogdon and is like, if they have a guard problem like the Denver Nuggets, I think you look at Brogdon and go, I mean, we could add him. They just have so many injuries on that team.
Yeah, I was just going to say their best player has played one game this season. So, it's a little funky. Robert Williams has been out. Scoot Henderson's only played 10 games. Brogdon's probably going to be moved. I was surprised that he was on the team at the start of the year, and I think maybe they just couldn't find anything to work for him, or they just wanted to have him for 1 year.
I think they wanted that Clippers trade, and I think the Clippers just really wanted Harden instead.
Yeah. It's weird. They're a weird team because on paper, it looks like they should be pretty fun. Between Scoot, if Anthony Simons was healthy,
Shaedon Sharpe,
DeAndre Ayton, finally,
Jeremy
dominate,
Yeah.
But they just haven't put it together, and I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think you panic. I don't think you panic if you're the Blazers.
I don't think so. I think if anything, as far as panicking goes, I think you might look at a different coach because, I mean, I've never been a big fan of Billups as a coach, but that's more my personal
Isaiah,
opinion.
go ahead and touch on that team, and we're going to speed run these last two for time's sake.
I don't have anything new for the Blazers, I'm actually not even as high on like Brogdon as you are. Not that Brogdon's bad. I just I think that he's the type of guy that a contender that's like a team that's trying to get pushed over the hump trades somebody risky to grab Brogdon to fix that guard problem. And it could just be me being a pessimist, but he's almost just barely good enough where a team will trade a guy that's too good for Brogdon and then actually get worse because they traded for a good player who just wasn't good enough. I just get that weird feeling about that move. But I mean, there's no reason for them to trip. They're 6-13. A couple balls bounce the other way. They're 9-10. And 9-10 puts them in the play-in. And for them to be in rebuild mode, like that's not, they're not too deep in the woods. That's not a bad spot to be.
Yeah. Quick team. We've talked a little bit about them today. Grizzlies. They look like Warriors without Curry that season.
I think they're just punting on this year.
Yeah. Many injuries. They have so many G League players playing minutes.
They're signing.
Jr. was not ready to be their best player. Desmond Bane is trying his heart out. Is what it is with them.
Who did they just give a contract to? Oh man, I'm missing his name. But they've signed like a couple players that I don't know them. And I'm not claiming to be like all knowing.
No, if you don't know them, they're a bum.
when I see a player get signed and I don't know their name and I have to like Google them and I still don't know who they are, I'm like, oh, okay, this is different.
What happened to Kenny Lofton Jr.?
Exactly. He
What
came out,
happened to
dropped
him?
like 40, and then disappeared, bro.
Yeah.
He retired champion.
He seems more like just a fun guy.
He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
oh,
just a fun guy.
ain't
Yeah.
nobody topping this. I'm out of here.
Next
Like,
team, everyone's
Jalen,
favorite young team, the Spurs. Not many. They don't have any point guards. This is the best draft to get a point guard out of. Not really the best draft, but
Yeah.
there is the only like. There's like 3 good players that are like actually good in this draft, and one of them is a point guard.
The point Sohan thing, I liked that at the beginning of the year as an idea. Now that I've seen it on the court for X amount of games, I'm pretty much over it.
He can do it, but
I don't know if it really helps his development either. And they're actually a team that, like, you know, I'm not saying trade away anything crazy, trade away any draft picks or anything like that. But if they can scoop up like a veteran point guard or something like that, I think that is going to be better for Wembanyama's development. And let's be real, that's the only thing on this team that matters.
they're doing what I hate the absolute most. You draft a generational talent, and then you LeBron him. You go, we're just going to be a bad team. Don't worry about it. Just do whatever. I know that you might leave in 3-4 seasons because you're a generational talent and want to win now, but we don't care. It's okay. We don't care. Like, that's so stupid. You have pieces to move. You have picks you can move, and you go, whatever. We'll sit on it.
I think
like that's crazy.
I don't think so at all. I don't think you make any moves until you know exactly what's actually going to complement Wembanyama, and I think that takes a year or so to figure out.
We don't know how
he's a generational talent. Anybody will compliment him.
No,
yeah, but
for sure, right? But what happens when you burn, because the Spurs have pieces they can move. What happens when they burn that value for the wrong guys? They get the wrong supporting
They
cast.
only have 2 other guys who I go, no, 3 other guys, so I go, maybe don't move.
All right, well, here's a question. Are you playing Wembanyama at center or power forward? Which position?
It doesn't matter.
We still don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's positionless NBA.
It does.
Defensively, it matters.
It matters. Offensively too. Yes,
no.
It does.
Yeah, with Wemby,
it matters because who you're putting around him. Is he better off with a guy like Robert Williams that's going to stand and clog up the paint? Is he better off playing the 5 himself? Is he tough enough to
I'll tell you this,
himself?
at least in my opinion, he's better off playing the 5. He shoots too many threes that he misses too many. He doesn't get enough actions where he's just getting the ball thrown to him underneath the hoop or above the hoop. And he gets them a few times a game, but they rarely ever go to him in the paint like that. It's a lot of Wemby ISO or Wemby catch and shoots or Wemby DHOs. And like,
I
why?
think they're fine.
He's one of the most coordinated big men we've ever seen in our life. And yet he doesn't get the inside game.
He's cool, but if he's the best player on your team, you're not winning a playoff series this year.
Oh, I'm not saying you have to win with him.
Going out and making all these trades if he can't be the best player and win us a playoff series. He can't do that yet. We still don't even know where you want to play him on
the draft is such a gamble. The Trailblazers with Damian Lillard got to the 2nd pick. You can't just go on drafts anymore, especially with how badly. And not every team is a Thunder, and they draft well.
You play one season with Wemby. Look at his numbers. Look at how he fits with your organization. Look at how his body handles playing 82 games. Figure out where you put him 1 to 5, even if it doesn't matter for your team specific system. You still got to know what guys to set around him. And you won't know that till he's played a whole season. But they do still have the pieces they can move. He is still stuck there for 3 to 4 years. Why go out of your way to almost rebuild right now when you can wait 1, maybe 2 seasons? I think you only wait 1 season. You rebuild immediately after that. You have 1 more makeup season, and then you're at least in the playoffs before his contract is over.
Yeah,
and they're not really doing the LeBron thing.
I think with a generational
we're not even 20
talent,
games into the season yet.
You're fine to take a year off
and
figure out exactly what you have and figure out what pieces you want to get around them. Because even if they trade away everything and they try to compete right now, they're not winning anything right now.
I agree. That's not good.
I hear what you're saying, but I also think it's important for you to show your generational talent that you at least want to win. that you at least try to win. And they're not doing. They're just
But-
saying, "Hey, go out there and do whatever."
If there's
And
a single
to
front
me,
office that you can trust with their vision and winning, it's the Spurs.
Is it though?
If Pop and their front office tell me, Isaiah,
the Spurs
we
made the
forgetting
playoffs
3 years ago
years
when Popovich and Tim Duncan were outed for being a cult-like organization? Are we forgetting that? They're one we can trust all of a sudden?
Yes.
Come on.
Whatever gets it done, bro.
Come on.
I mean,
Chicago hadn't won since Gamble and Mike sat down.
Hey, at least we made a first seed. They haven't even done that.
Hey, if all you have to hang your hat on is a first seed for a little bit instead of 4 championships in the last 20 years.
Sorry, we have 6. It's fine.
In the last 30 years.
Okay. How many do they have in the last 30 years? Just 4? Or no, sorry, 5?
You're not, that's more recent, right? After Jordan, this millennium, the Spurs have 4 more rings.
What
than
does
the
that
Bulls.
do with Wemby and right now?
What
You're
I'm
just
saying is
talking
you
shit.
can
You're
trust
just bringing
them.
stuff up. It's weird.
No. I'm saying that's an organization you can trust to get you there because they know how to win. It could be weird. It might not work for everybody, but they know how to win. And that's undisputable.
I wanted to pull this up to make sure I got it right.
Do they know how to win?
The playoffs from 1998 to 2019.
Yeah.
That's 15 years in a row.
That's so awesome, but they could only win with 2 MVPs on their team and all-stars around them. Since then, they haven't won anything with anybody.
They had Kawhi. When was their other second MVP?
Since when do we give Cavs credit for getting LeBron to the playoffs?
No,
we never do.
They
that.
didn't make it 15 years in a row.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
When does making it and winning it equate to the same thing? Because that's what you guys are sounding like.
The Spurs are the only organization that has had LeBron levels of longevity as far as we are going to make it.
You had an MVP and then drafted an MVP. Of course,
you're
going to win.
telling me why the front office is winning. You're making my point.
You got it handed to you.
You're
You had the
my
first
point
pick.
at me. That's crazy.
You had no choice but to do that. That's like saying Cavaliers. They're so good at drafting. They drafted LeBron.
They got LeBron and had a terrible team. The Spurs have a terrible team now and can fix it because they've shown us that they know how to fix it. Dan Gilbert and the Cavs were a terrible front office that had generational talent.
Have the Spurs shown they can fix it since Tim Duncan's been gone? No.
That's because they lost Tim Duncan. They shipped out Kawhi Leonard, and that was that. They had DeMar DeRozan. What about their Tim Duncan?
What about their entire DeMar DeRozan phase with LaMarcus Aldridge, and that was supposed to be a winning culture for them.
2 years.
If
you put Eric season, y'all were first seed for 1 month,
and they immediately blew it up.
Crazy about a franchise that's been good for 20 years.
That's crazy. I just don't understand what you want from them.
Like,
we're gonna punish teams for getting good players. I mean,
how dare they? How dare they win for 20 years?
Every team that wins has an MVP on their team or an MVP caliber guy. I mean, what are we doing? Like,
my entire point is that you're not showing Wembanyama that you want to win, and you only have so many years with them.
I don't think it matters this first year.
Yeah,
if they're still doing it, his third year, his fourth year, sure, maybe
somehow that equates to me saying that the Bulls were a first seed a few years ago makes 0 sense.
I don't even know where the Bulls.
Explain that.
I don't know.
That was so long ago.
That was 5 seconds ago.
I was talking about a front off. No, it wasn't. That was so long ago. The Spurs don't have to make any crazy moves right now. They've had Wembanyama for 19 games. Give them 63 more games with him, and then you let that front office show that they know how to make moves and put good players around them.
Who do they have to move?
Who do they have to move right now? Or are you talking about in a season after we have 82 games worth of
after 82 games? Who on their team can they even move?
You got to wait for the season to be over. They have to prove that to you. That's why you have to wait 82 games, dog.
Jesus,
the answer just isn't there, or else they would have already been better.
NBA games.
All right, no, because you're trying to. No, this is so ridiculous, bro. You get on the show with the little attitude, and now you want to make it not basketball that we're talking about, bro.
You're one bringing up other teams I'm not even talking about.
No, you're bad. All right, whatever.
Anyways,
move on to the next thing, bro.
Yeah,
move on to the next thing.
The player of the week.
Who you guys got? I go first all the time.
De'Aaron Fox. I think he had like 32, 8, and 7 this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the NBA gave. Let's see what the NBA gave. Who you got?
Yeah, I liked Fox.
Player of the week. And they gave it
Which
to
is
Fox
good
as well.
because we're picking somebody a little bit older. I mean, he's not that older, but
How old is Booker?
26.
He's younger than him. Yeah, 32, 9, and 6. Yeah. Yeah. How you going, Isaiah?
Devin Booker's 27.
I think I am
He's still pretty young.
Totally okay with think De'Aaron Fox. We'll go De'Aaron Fox.
Who's the other player of the week they gave? They only do one this week?
No, I don't know who they gave. They should have gave more. De'Aaron Fox just had an awesome play, too.
I think they only gave one this week.
That doesn't make any sense. There should be an East and West.
I don't see an Easter one.
That's weird. Oh yeah. De'Aaron Fox and Julius Randle.
Julius Randle?
Yeah.
What's his week been like?
3-0 record, average 24 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists. Put up 25 and 20 in the in-season tournament against the Hornets.
Yeah, he's turned it around. He had one of the worst starts of the season.
He turns it around, and then it just goes right back to the same old thing. I mean,
Knicks made it to the in-season tournament?
No.
I don't think they did. Right?
Isn't it just who's left?
Bucks Knicks. Yep.
Bucks Knicks. Okay.
Yep. Well,
and then who is the other one? It's Lakers and
Suns.
Phoenix. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Predictions on those last games before we get up out of here?
I mean, I picked the Bucks to be the best team in the East, so I might as well just take them. I mean,
I'll take Knicks over Bucks.
And the current game right now as well. Don't forget that.
Well, I'm cheating a little bit because I'm watching the game.
I've been watching it the whole show. They're up 11.
Yeah.
The Kings are?
No,
Pelicans are.
Pelicans
That's what I
are.
wanted. Hell yeah.
So I guess we'll just pick the Pelicans here, even though they could definitely blow this 12-point lead.
I got Lakers Bucks.
Yeah, I like the Lakers.
I got Lakers Knicks.
Is the Lakers not Lakers? Are the Suns healthy yet?
No.
Not even close to it?
No. I don't think Beal is expected to play for another couple weeks.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Yep. It reevaluated in 3 weeks.
Yep. But I mean,
Yikes.
Durant and Booker are at least going to be playing. So,
do we think they beat the Lakers?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No. I almost think LeBron cares a little bit about this in-season tournament.
I mean, all right, can you blame him?
No. I think
this does.
I don't blame anybody, but I think it does add a little bit.
It does add a very small little thing to his legacy. Something that nobody else has. I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But all righty. Well, anything left for the show, guys?
Nope, I'm good.
All righty. Go ahead and end it there. We'll see y'all next week.